Hey students, welcome to episode 55 of the Film Student Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Lazzeroni. My guest this week is Tim Ferrari from the Green Cohort. We talk about his time working in the LA film scene, the difficulty of writing the kind of material you actually love, and we talk about his biggest project to date, the Statesmen Podcast. On with the show.
I graduated from college in 2016.
Where from?
From Loyola, so
Okay.
just up north in Chicago, and I studied film there. After like bouncing around to so many different majors, I think I did like 6 majors or something like that. And
It's always that you want to do film from the outset, but you don't actually go to it because
Right.
it's like, well, I got to give it a real try at something that like might actually pay bills.
right, if we're jumping back to it, I started out like wanting super badly to be a doctor, and I would I would shadow at hospitals all the time because my friend's mom worked in the cardiac like cath lab where they would put stents up people's legs and clear like bypass heart stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that for a really long time, and then I joined the high school theater because I had a girlfriend who was in there, and I was like, this stuff's so cool, and I want to be closer to her. So I started doing that.
It's always following the women.
And then it just kind of like it took over my desire to make money, and I just wanted to do like theater stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went to college doing that, and bounced around, and then fell into film after going to Rome. This is like it's a crazy romantic story.
Oh, literally
Yeah.
romantic because it starts in Rome.
Yeah.
But
I had a best friend who I met in Rome. We
Okay.
studied abroad. I didn't know him before we went, but I met him there, and he was so passionate about film that it was contagious, and because of him, I immediately fell in love with it. And I was in Italy at the time, and my last name's Ferrari. I'm Italian, so I find super strong connection to that. And I started watching Fellini and Scorsese, even though he's not an Italian. But
yeah.
so I fell in love with it that way. And then after I graduated college, I moved to LA to work in production, and I fucking hated it.
Really? Wait, what? Like just jumped into PA roles and that sort of thing?
I did more office assistant stuff, so I was less like on sets, and I was more like back of house, like some accounting stuff, helping out the executive producers of this company.
You were assistant line producing, basically.
I was assistant line producing. I would like cut the checks for the production company, and so it like wasn't what I wanted to do necessarily, but I had a incredibly great time like learning and stuff, and then like I spent a year there, and I had remembered that this film school was around because I had heard about it my senior year, and was like, I'm going to trek to LA instead of going to the school, and then came back for the school. Like got in while I was there and moved back like a month later.
Yeah. And so specifically for this program, so you'd heard about it. How did you originally hear about the program?
On like Facebook,
Yeah.
like straight up, or
Okay.
through like some comedy connections that I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people hear about it from podcasts. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's not even always firsthand that they get it from a podcast. Sometimes it's like, oh, my friend was listening to whatever podcast and heard about it and then told me about it. And,
What podcast do they advertise on?
they were on a ton. I mean, back when it first opened, it was on every improv based podcast. Like I want to say Spontaneous Nation.
Yeah.
Spontaneous Nation around. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that was around
Spontaneous
it.
Nation.
And then
Comedy Bang Bang, I guess?
Comedy Bang Bang. It was on.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, just a lot of those. I think I might have even heard it on Douglas Movies at one point in time.
Oh, wow.
Advertised, but
Nice job, Harold Ramis Film School. Really tapping into a great market there.
They just, I mean, it got initial student base. And, but the tough thing is that's hard to sustain. That level of advertising. I think the original goal was to try and have, this become self-sustaining after some point in time. That we would. Like the school would advertise itself.
Yeah.
Like the things that the students were doing would evenally build up enough of a
I think
name.
that's eventually the goal. Like once like one person in any of these cohorts achieves like
Sells
even a
script
sliver
or-
of fame, it's like all of a sudden this school is.
I mean,
gonna
it seems
blow
like
up.
Alyssa's got the early run with Pen 15. I don't know if you've watched any of that yet.
Whoa. Wait, what?
She worked on Pen 15. She was like production coordinator or
Oh,
something, or something like that. With like, I want to say she got promoted during the production because somebody left and she got moved up.
Alyssa, If you're listening out there, you did a great job on Pen 15. I watched all of it, and
it's magical.
What a touching show.
Yeah, when Debbie Liebling came and spoke to us, she showed us the first 2 episodes in like November or something like that. I've been like sitting on my hands like excited waiting for the release. I signed up for Hulu just to be able to watch that. And
it melted me.
And Letterkenny. Those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah.
Have you watched any Letterkenny?
I have not watched Letterkenny.
You need to go watch Letterkenny.
I will watch it when I get home.
It's all on Hulu. It's
nice. I just found out that I have a Hulu subscription through my Spotify account.
Really?
I didn't know that I signed up for it, but I've been paying like $15 a month
to get both together.
To get both together, and I didn't know. And so, like last month, I was like, I need a Hulu account, and so I tried using my email, and it was like, it's already in use. I was like, what the fuck?
Those bundle things are coming out, but I'm not hearing about all of them. Like, there's apparently one. If I pay $10 more to get like the next tier up on my Verizon cell phone, that they toss in Apple Music, which I'm paying $10 a month for. And it's like, so wait, I could get Apple Music plus more gigabytes on my unlimited for tethering, and then I don't pay any more out of pocket? Like, okay.
Man, they're just trying to trick us.
I'm just waiting for the day when it's all bundled together, that you're just able to get like your HBO and Hulu and Netflix and
I worry about that day.
All that stuff bundled together.
I worry about that day. That's the death of streaming. You know, I
think it's the death of cable first.
Yeah, well, it's the death of cable, but it's like a renewal of cable.
Yeah.
Because it's like the same principle where you're going to sign up for a service that gives you all of these channels,
right.
HBO, Netflix, and Hulu, and it's going to serve the exact same thing, except it's a little bit more mobile this time.
Right. Which I like. But
yeah. I just hate the idea of like having to. It's like the Disney thing where Disney is acquiring all of these things, and it's just going to be the same parent company to all
eventually,
these like
everything's going to be Disney or Amazon.
I know.
Or maybe Apple, Facebook. We'll see.
I want to live. I don't know. I want to live in an IKEA. That's my thing. Is like I so badly want IKEA to turn into like this like super mega bunker. And
I want you to make a documentary about that. Trying to live in an IKEA.
It's already out, man. They already did it. There's this movie out there that like it's like
Simpsons did it.
I don't know if it's like a documentary, but it's definitely a story of these people, like maybe a drama story.
Yeah.
But these people filmed in this IKEA like over the course of 2 months because you're not allowed to film in there, and they just like cut together this shitty feature.
Wow.
But that idea's been done, man.
Fuck. There's a couple movies that are like that are just guerrilla style that people filmed in. There's one in Disney World.
Disney World, yeah.
That took like 2.5 years or something ridiculous to film.
Yeah.
But how do you go in there that much? I feel like that's the budget. Like you're
that's
spending
the budget.
It just on admission tickets.
And you better be like using that budget and going on some of those rides at the same time.
But there's got to be a point where you're just sick, like you're going to work basically to go to Disney.
I mean, I guess that's not the worst job that you can do.
This is true. So so you came through this program. I take it you're trying to get into writing, performing. Is that your bend, or what's your long-term goal?
My long-term goal, I want to direct. I've wanted to direct so badly for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I came to this school not to like. I came to the school to like work on my writing, but I don't think it's my strongest thing. I came to the school really to like focus on direction and really hit the comedic image rather than the comedic word. And so, yeah, I think I like that more than I do writing. But performance, too, I enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Because I've noticed you're in a lot of stuff.
I know. I like it. I love acting, and it goes back to like high school theater where that's where my root is. And
you're dedicated, too, because the Dancing Man in Chris's term, too.
I still haven't seen it. I still haven't seen
either.
Dancing Man.
I shot it. I still haven't seen it.
He's working on it, though. I know that he's... Every time I see him, he always gives me an update on Dancing Man. It's always like it's progressing. It is moving.
It was when he told me about what he had gotten space-wise, like it generally worked. I think if he went through and like replaced the ceiling like with something just white, that might work better. It was just that space was tough to film
make
that
look
in.
Yeah, make look good too.
Yeah. So the concept of this was the weirdest way I can put it, because it's a Chris Dritz's original. But it is a film about an old man that is theoretically very, very rich, and has this man that's just dancing around in the room that he's laying in his bed, like with a respirator, and his lawyer comes in, played by Danny Marshall, past guest on the show as well, who is trying to, you know, reason with him and talk about, I guess, I can't remember what the lines were, but it was effectively like his estate planning or something like that.
Yeah, it's like something, yeah.
And then you're playing this dancing man in a, you know, one-piece suit a la the Green Man from
I'm in like a spandex
from Always
morph
Sunny.
suit.
Yeah. And just dancing around like a madman in the background and just making Danny really uncomfortable and completely unacknowledged by the old man.
Yeah. It's the closest thing to like a David Lynch thing that we've done at this school, I think. It is just so out there.
It is very Chris Dritz's though.
It is very Chris.
It fits
and
in
it works
extremely well.
Yeah.
And so I still want to see the final one, but I can't bemoan him too much. I still haven't finished my term 2. We have to do more shooting on it.
My term 2 I finished, but oh my god, the ending is just so atrocious.
What was yours?
It was called Mafia Monopoly, and it's about these 4 people who are playing Monopoly, and the 3 of them regularly play together, but then there's this one who they invite over, and he's this mob. He's a mob boss, and he's able to like spawn his goonies to like beat the shit out of them while they're playing Monopoly. Basically,
okay.
Yeah.
Who all's in that one?
Brandon Sherman, who's a Second City guy around here. Lydia House, who is she's very into the annoyance.
Okay.
She does a lot of solo shows, and she just had one at Second City. And then George Owens, who's another Second City guy and who I went to college with. He's blowing up as well. Him and Henrik Blix, they do like a 2-person sketch team together.
Okay.
And then Ruskell Rosenbart, who I met on like Actors Access or something like that, or Backstage. And he's a cool guy. He's like a stand-up around here.
Yeah. What I love is that this is a big enough city. I have not met or crossed paths with any of those, but that's such like a normal thing. Like, it's equal parts normal to be on a production where you know nobody, like everybody's brand new, as well as like finding the same handful of people that people love working with.
And I'd never worked with any of them on like a film set either.
Yeah.
I'd only known them through their performance, and in Ruskell and Brandon's case, I only knew them through an audition. Yeah. But talented people all around Chicago. It's
so
crazy.
Where's that in production?
I mean, it's done. It's just like I had a gimmick at the end where, and this is like this is my high budget mind kind of thinking where, like, in the end the mob boss is like, he wins the game, and he's like, you know, saying, "Fuck you guys, this is the easiest game I've ever played. You guys are the dumbest pieces of shit." And as he's leaving, the FBI shows up, and like 3 spotlights show on him, and he like resists for a second and gets just shot the fuck up. Okay. You know, and that effect looked horrible.
Oh no. Like the shocking thing?
He didn't do like a shocking, like multiple bullets were going into him, but it was more like it was a 1-bullet sniper shot. Yeah. And it just didn't look good. Like, we tried to do a blood spray, and it just ended up not looking like good footage. Yeah. So it's kind of a flub, I guess. Are you going to
try and reshoot it?
I would have to reshoot. The problem is I would probably have to reshoot the whole thing because it's in one location, and I don't have access to that location anymore because it was my old apartment. Oh. So I'm kind of out of luck on that.
That sucks.
It's either I like go back and just like shoot the script again, which I don't want to do. Yeah. Or I sacrifice making it look totally discontinuous.
Everybody's term 2s. So I'm helping tomorrow morning reshoot a sequence from Scott Fenton's term 3.
Oh, sure.
It worked without it, but he wants like a couple like face up, close up shots. Mm-hmm. So we're just and one where somebody gets tossed off a bed. Okay. So we're basically shooting like 4
That's a nice
shots.
pickup day.
Yeah, and luckily all the equipment was mine. The apartment was Carly's. Like it's easy enough to pull that together. Yeah. And we're going to get our actor one last time because he just got in a conservatory. So, or no, not conservatory. No, he got into what's the other one? The fellowship.
Bob Curry.
Bob Curry Fellowship. Yeah. So he just got that one. My roommate is the one that got conservatory.
Hell yeah. Nice. Well, congrats to your roommate. If you're listening out there, Tony Lazzeroni's roommate, you're an OG.
Rob Miller. That's
Rob Miller.
Rob
guy.
Miller. Congrats to Rob Miller. Watch out for him. But so so you wanted to get into directing. So you're working on a bunch of stuff now. You're like me. You have like 50 different things going on at once.
Yeah.
Including
and like,
an animation project that you want to talk about.
All of them are like not film, and
right.
Which is like the worst part. I do Statesmen. I do that podcast.
So talk about Statesmen. I know what it is, but for anybody that's listening,
sure. Statesmen is a podcast where we explore all 50 states with our 5 senses of perception. So we like look at some shit, we smell some stuff, all of this like sense inspired stuff by the state.
So the scent and taste and touch are the 3 that I'm most like. I get see and hear, like those you can find on the internet,
right?
But what are people bringing in that allows you to touch on the other 3 senses?
So we don't ask the guest to bring anything in. It's my 2 roommates, Anthony Rossi and Stuart Highcar, and myself, and we collect all this information from the internet and present it to somebody who is not who is from the state originally.
Okay.
So Anthony will do the PowerPoint, and he'll like get a whole bunch of like visual slides of like various monuments and landmarks around the state. Stu will collect music and commercials or what have you, and then I'm in charge of smell and taste. And taste, it's kind of obvious. You look up like what's like a typical state food. Like we did Maine today with Leva Pierce, who goes to the school or used to go to the school. And
she's a former guest on the show too.
So I did lobster.
Okay.
I made some lobster tail, and that's like very, very obvious something to do. But then like the smell is something that you have to think a little bit harder about because it's so hard. I really just like I shoot it in the dark. I really don't think about it all that hard.
I will say smell is one of those things for me that is most like triggerable for memories.
Right, of course.
It's amazing. I can't even remember what it was that I smelled the other day. Actually, I don't know what the actual smell was, but it triggered me back to high school.
Right.
To a specific time in high school of like always going to the same look. It's interesting how tightly that ties to it. So if you get the right thing.
If I get the right thing, which I've only done like maybe twice.
Yeah.
And they were both by accident. But yeah, I have the same experience. When I play new video games that I think are really good, I'll get this smell. And it has nothing to do with like the smell of the video game itself. Mm-hmm. It's just like almost an experiential smell by proxy. But it always brings me back to the time where in 4th grade I played RuneScape for the first time. Uh-huh. And since playing RuneScape, I just remember that smell. Like when I played RuneScape, I played Guild Wars, which is another MMORPG.
Yeah.
And then I played WoW, another one. Right. And all 3 of them, I just remember this very distinct smell. I don't know.
Huh.
Fucky.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's off topic and tangential.
No, but that's totally fine. Like, honestly, the show gets very bland if it winds up being the same like 5 questions every single time.
Very, very true.
Like, I guess if the questions were unique enough, not to say like the 5 senses thing doesn't give you 1,000 different directions to go with it, but like, yeah, I've got for those that have listened to for a while, probably picked up. There's about maybe 15 total questions that I really walk into one of these with, and I rotate who gets what questions, but it gives me something to pull back from, and if it goes off on a tangent, awesome.
That's what every show kind of does, though. They always ask. They're like, that's their meat and potatoes.
Yeah. And you say you're 22 episodes in? 20 episodes in?
We've released, I think, 16 or 17.
Okay.
As of February 17th, is this today?
Sounds about right.
Not to date us or anything.
Well, this goes up tomorrow. This will go up on the 18th.
Shit, nice.
So people will. So it's close enough to.
We have like
present.
a 2 and 3 between 2 and 3 weeks of break between each episode.
I got that way a couple times. Like I back recorded for the end of the term. I actually recorded like 4 within 1 week, just so that I didn't have to do it through the rest of the term when I was getting to that point. But now I'm at this point where I'm recording like the day before it goes up,
right?
And I need to get off of that.
We do weekly on Sundays records, like weekly Sunday records, and sometimes they're Tuesdays. But like, man, doing like a weekly record, it gets so tiresome sometimes.
Yeah, it can. It's nice when you can do a couple back to back. If you can line them up,
you knock them out,
knock out a 2-week time frame so that people can have like a week off or something like that. Because it's the individual episodes aren't bad. Like I tried to set up to do a couple of these, like to do this one and then do another one right afterwards. And the other one just didn't end up working out. Probably interview that person later this week or next week.
Okay.
Won't say who it is because I don't know if it'll.
Hey, that's totally fine.
There's been a couple of these,
curious.
like Sam Lounsbury that I had on last week.
Yeah.
I have been trying to book for like months, and it was like every time
It
I
just
had an
never
open
worked?
spot, every time I had an open spot, he was busy or he was
Damn.
working or he was not in town or something, and then I would schedule like 3 other people, and eventually he would come back and be like, "Hey, you still want me on?" It's like, yeah, we just got to find a time that works, and so it finally worked out, but yeah, it's tough for the scheduling and planning too when you're trying to incorporate multiple people.
Yeah,
I've only done a couple that have been 4 people. Most of these have just been one-on-one.
Yeah, I think luckily for our podcast, it's easy because the 3 people who are on the podcast all live together. So like, I live with Anthony and I live with Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
So we really only have to schedule one person to come. And we usually just do it Sundays in the middle of the afternoon. So it's like people mostly aren't doing anything that day.
So going back to on-topic stuff.
Sure, yeah. So
what is your style? What are you trying to get into making?
I think I'm still trying to figure that out. Because I always have this very distinct taste in my mouth and like what I want, but when I put pen to paper, it just doesn't taste the same. It's like unfocused, but it's like an unfocused splitting the divide between like comedy and horror.
Okay.
I really love that divide, but it's so, or like thrillers too, like comedy and thrillers I think are
I have
so
a theory
interesting.
related to this because I've talked about this before, but that the things that you find funny, literally comedy is taking what you're expecting and then taking a left turn. Like that is how comedy works.
Mm-hmm.
It's preying on people's expectations of whatever they're going to see and whatever it works out to be.
Right.
So something like, since we've talked about Chris so much, something like Hinkle Knows Best. It is a standard Full House, Boy Meets World style family sitcom, and the left turn is that it's all greased up guys in speedos playing every role, male and female, through the whole show. That's the left turn, and that's where the comedy all comes from, is just seeing that played out to
its fullest, right?
Yeah, and so I think that because you're the one mapping it, you're never going to be able to recreate the comedy that you enjoy most. Because you like the stuff that really gets you the most is the stuff that will trick you the most into having that left turn right before it happens. And so getting to the point where you can write that
and like trick yourself almost.
Exactly. Like it's almost impossible because you're I imagine in a writer's room it's easier because you are able to kind of get something that's 75% of the way there and has like the core story.
Yeah.
But then you get to laugh at the other jokes that other people are throwing out. But it's some amalgamation. Like I was watching Bob's Burgers before I came over here today, and the stuff that Gene says in that show is just he is just a punchline machine. That is why the character exists, is to just have a punchline joke on like everything that happens with the 3 kids.
Right.
And it's always a complete left turn and of whatever they're talking about, and it's brilliant. But I'm like, I don't know. I was thinking about like if I tried to write a spec episode, would I be able to do that? And I don't know that I could. And have it hit as hard because I would know what the joke was going to be.
Right. That's a really interesting way to put it. I've never heard of the idea of surprising yourself, which is, I think that's a very, very interesting sentiment, because if you're, I think in taking some of the stuff that we learned from Second City, in that there's like truth in comedy.
Yeah.
To be able to surprise yourself in the truth.
Yeah.
Is interesting, or like maybe plays into that idea of like surprising yourself, like just figuring out your own truth, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I've written stuff here, and you may feel the same way, that you'll read it and you'll go, oh, this feels hacky, boring, played out, and then somebody else reads it and like, this is really funny.
Right.
And it's like, is it though? Like but it's because I know the joke, and like I have to get to this point where it's like, forgive the fact that I know where the joke is going, and just see if I can trick somebody else.
Right. I kind of had a similar feeling on my last term project, Upper Deckers, which I hated.
You hated?
I hated it after a time, because I knew what I wanted my joke to be, which I think is very similar in Chris Dristis' style, where like the situation has presented itself on top, and we know the shtick already, kind of a thing. I don't know. I really didn't like that thing. It just ended up not turning out the way I wanted it to be. God damn.
But I will say that was formative for me. Your film.
What?
Because of Dom.
Oh yes, of course.
Because I asked you afterwards. I was like, "Who shot this?" Because it was beautiful, and you were like, "Yeah, Dom. This guy Dom Udell, who's also been on the podcast before." But I wound up Dom shot both my Term 2 and Term 3 films.
Same with me. Shot my Term 2 and Term 3s.
Yeah, and just great guy to work with. Comes with Anthony Gibson package deal.
Yeah, Zachary Green sometimes too.
I haven't been able to work with Zach on one of my things. I've worked with him on Dom's short that we just shot a couple weeks ago.
All three of those dudes are world class people.
Yeah, they're great guys. Yeah. And so but that was important. Like it's one of the big production relationships that I've had here.
Yeah.
Was from just asking you, hey, how'd you get this gorgeous shot?
Yeah. No, he's really something else. I think the cinematography is my favorite part of it all, and I think outside of that, in terms of writing and direction, I think it's miserable.
And
I'm being way too hard on myself.
That's why it's here. Like I don't think it's miserable. I think there's always opportunities to tighten and try different things. But that's why it's film school.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you're here to figure out, because I bet you walked away from that going, oh, if we would have done this, that would have given me options here.
Totally.
Because when you get in the editing room, that's when everything comes to 20/20 vision. Is when you're like, fuck, we should have shot coverage there. We should have filmed this other scene that I was thinking about adding.
I shouldn't have made them say this line because it doesn't mean anything.
We shouldn't have spent 20 takes on this one line because they got it in the third one. Like, it's all that stuff just comes piling in. And over time, there's less of that. Like, there's more things where you're like, oh, got it.
I think going back to the original question of like what I want to try to do and like style wise, I love David Lynch so fucking much. Because he's weird, but also because I think he's funny without realizing it. I think all of his films have like such a unique sense of humor that is unbridled or like indelible. Yeah, it's just so recognizable. I don't know. I just really like his style of comedy, even if he says that he doesn't do it.
He denies that it exists.
Right. Well, I've heard interviews with him where he talks with interviewers, and I think he was talking about Mel Brooks at one point, and he was saying like, I am not a comedian because Mel Brooks is a comedian, and I think totally different from the way that he does.
Yeah, and that's because I think that plays into what I was talking about before about the surprising yourself. Like, there are different kinds of comedies, and the stuff that I consume and love, I don't know that I could ever write that stuff. I mentioned Letterkenny earlier, which you don't have the context of, but when you watch it, it is a very specific type of comedy, which is very much almost a sketch mentality of just finding a bit and running with it. Yeah. For as long as possible, and they'll do like runs of puns in the show, and just kind of form it into the story. Yeah. But it's both stupid and brilliant at the same time, and that's the kind of stuff like I don't know that I could ever write that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it to identify it, but I think that
Did you ever actually direct somebody else's piece, or has it always been your own stuff?
It's always been my own stuff. I've always wanted to direct somebody else's piece. Just nobody's giving me a script. Yeah, it's just the bottom line. I would love to direct something that you write, Tony.
We should do a script swap.
Oh my god. That'd be great.
That would be fun, because I want some other stuff to direct, and I do want to try adapting other people's things, because there is something different when you see somebody else's script. You do visualize it in a different way. Like, and I got that a couple times when I DP'd for people back in term 1, that I kind of started to see it and saw what they were directing and thought, oh, this might work better. This could be funnier, but it's not my place. And so it was, part of what I was trying to experience was what it was like to just be a DP. And so I just kind of shut my mouth and only brought it up if it was a visual thing. Like, if it's a visual gag that I can throw in, I'll show you how that could work. But if it's like, oh, that line doesn't really hit, it's like, it's not my job.
Yeah. I like to take the approach that like get like what you need, and then like kind of get what other people say they think you need.
Yeah.
Because there's always time, at least a little bit, to like maybe get one or two shots of something that somebody else thinks is good.
Yeah.
And it just might work way better in the film.
And I think that's a open collaborative way of viewing it. But at least if John McNaughton and John Hancock are to be believed on it, that's not the way that big budget things work. It's very much a power grab type environment, which is really weird to me. I don't know how that would work.
Maybe out of necessity, because you're working with so much money that the producers or whoever you're working under as a director, like, you just have to kind of work in that cage, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I've also heard too, actors will be taught by their agents and managers to do certain tasks in specific ways to make it more difficult to not use. Like if they get the shot that they want and they manage to shoot that first, and it's like a super close up, that they'll kind of purposefully flub the mid shot enough so that they, like, when they go
can do it their
editing,
way.
it has to be in close up. I think one of my favorite stories is actually about the interracial kiss from original Star Trek run.
Oh, I think I have heard this story.
Where they William Shatner was pushing for it. No, let's record the kiss, and he did that one as best he could, and then flubbed all the rest of them on purpose, like, so that when they went in the editing suite, the only one that worked was the kiss.
Nice,
that's
sly,
right? And that's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, empowerment, awesome, but it's like there's other cases where actors will do that just specifically for self gain,
right?
And you can't do anything about it. Like, it seems so diva to me.
It is so diva. It is so diva because it might not serve the film.
And
which is a bummer.
I would never want to work with one of those actors. Like, that's the thing I want to, if I'm going to hire an actor, I want to find out, are they that kind of person?
Right. Are you going to commandeer the ship?
Yeah, exactly. Are you going to try and take this over and own it from me? So, so you mentioned Statesmen, got to talk about Too Many Grandpas.
Oh, for sure.
Because
I'll try.
I got to record a voice for that, and I'm very excited about Too Many Grandpas. Although it sounds like the animator part is the tough part.
It's the fucking hardest part. Too Many Grandpas, just to explain it to view or listeners, it's a show or animated show idea between Stephen Carter, Michael Schiff, and myself, where two twins inherit a grandfather clock, and whenever you put stuff into the grandfather clock, a corresponding grandpa is going to spawn and come out of that clock. And so these two kids use their newfound power of infinite grandpas to do their bidding and do whatever they want.
And just spawn all sorts of grandpas from the Bible or from
Roman times. We could do. There's a fly Jesus in that episode where Jesus is and I'm not talking about like lit dress. He's not wearing any drip, but he's a fly. He's a literal buzz fly.
How many episodes have you recorded? Is it just the one?
Oh, it's just that one because we want to do like a 5-minute like pilot before we do any like big episodes, just to like push stuff online, and we have no idea about any of this animation shit. So it just goes so slowly.
What's the destination for it? Is it just stick on YouTube or something? Or
I think we want to do like NYTVF and whatever like animation festivals that we can get into. Comedy Central has like that open submission for animated pilots and stuff like that. So I think we're going for that. But then I personally, I would love to have it just live on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think that's like a great way to get like online content just out there. And
it just doesn't make money.
But yeah, YouTube sucks at the same time. They're just a terrible corporation.
It's
right
magical
now.
And terrible all at the same time. Yeah,
like such a beautiful platform, and they get to fuck it up, just by demonetizing for no reason. It's like, come on, guys.
Well, we need to compare notes because I'm trying to work on my animated project too on Super Awesome Clean Team Go.
Straight up, like if you even have a whisper of an animator, please let me know.
Well,
as long as they're here, I want a Chicago-based animator.
Well, so we had did you talk to either of the guys we just had a film club meeting the other night that you came to?
God damn it.
We just got to get who was it there?
I know Mariah Martell said something.
Yeah, it was her and the dude she was with, whose name
Eddie.
I'm blanking on.
Maybe.
Eddie. Yes, that sounds right. Yes. who was in Dom's Commando shoot.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's released an edit of it yet. It's in Zach's reel already. Some of the footage from.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But no,
then I have seen a clip.
It'll be funny.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain there's too much good stuff there not to get something good out of it.
But yeah, Too Many Grandpas. It's just like it's so hard to get an animator right now. Where I'm still recording sound for it. I'm very much slacking on. And I'm sorry, Stephen and Michael, if you're listening. I'm slacking on my work for Too Many Grandpas.
What else do you have to get?
I have to record Werner Herzog, and I'm recording for me, and it's like 3 lines, and I'm lazy. I'm sorry.
So when you want to, you let me know. I will come in and be your opposite voice on that, just to help you out with the record process, so you can focus on just the voice.
Please. I mean, it's really only like he's like the punchline of some of the scenes. So all I really have to do is I just have to hone in the voice and
reserve the room, the soundstage. One afternoon, I'll come after work and come record it with you.
Hot damn, Tony, let's do it.
We'll get it done. Well, if people want to try and track you down on social media, see the other stuff that you're working on, find the Statesmen Podcast. Where can they see you?
All right, so you can find me on Instagram mostly at Young Garlic, YUNG_GARLIC.
Why Young Garlic?
It was like my junior year of college, and I saw on the internet one day like to call someone a garlic in Korean is incredibly offensive. I don't know why. But okay. I found that super funny, and there was like the rap trend, like the trap trend of always putting young in front of like in front of your name. So Young Garlic just kind of came out of that. And then you can find Statesmen at Statesmen Podcast on Instagram and Facebook at Statesmen Pod on Twitter at statesmanpodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you, sir, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Tony. I've been waiting to get on this thing for so long.
Why don't people just if you run into anybody else that says that, tell me, because I feel like every week I'm scrambling to find somebody.
You can just like go down the list. I feel like and just like start picking people off like that.
I have had some people that are like scared to do it.
What?
So, yeah, that are.
You're such a personable guy.
Well, it's not even that. I think it's just talking about themselves is just awkward for them.
And I'm fucking great at that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it.
And that was Tim Ferrari. Thank you to Tim and to the Harold Ramis Film School and the Second City staff for their help. The song on this week's episode was Magic Pills by Cathy D off her new EP, Nostalgiaddict. Find it now on iTunes and Spotify. This show was recorded and edited by me, Tony Lazzeroni. If you want to hear more from me and my classmates, teachers, and a few special guests, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you have questions or comments, send us an email at filmstudentpod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at filmstudentpod. And be sure to check out some of my and my classmates' work at filmstudentpod.com, where you can also find links to all of our past episodes. See you all next week. Class dismissed.
My magic pills,